Hello, innovators. I'm Todd Wyant, and welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast presented by Graytech Group. You're invited to join our conversation to model the future of construction innovation and the digital transformation adventure of this great industry. My guest today is Eric Helitzer. Eric is a third-generation builder and visionary entrepreneur in the construction industry. He has managed over $250 million in construction projects and now serves as the founder and CEO of SubBase, a platform revolutionizing material procurement for specialty contractors and distributors. Through SubBase, Eric is bridging the gap between technology and construction, streamlining workflows and driving unprecedented efficiency in the industry. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Excited to chat today.
Yeah, likewise. So I like to get the people's kind of origin story of how they got into the industry to start up the show. How'd you come into the world of construction?
Yeah. So my story originates early on in the early days of internships in the construction field. So my family, back 3 generations, was in the construction space for many, many years. And I decided to take a career path into construction management through college. And at the time, it was in it was a degree that most people didn't understand. And so I actually graduated from the University of Florida with a degree in construction management because of my family background being in construction. And at the time of I would say the condo boom in Miami in South Florida, where I was living at the time, I entered into the subcontractor world directly through college. Many internships before, but full-time in 2010 when I graduated and went to go work in the subcontractor world. And that's really the first job I took in construction, was at the subcontractor level. From there, went into the family business. The family business was not hiring me at the time because they wanted me to go work for a company in the subcontractor world. And I found a great company to work for, learned on the concrete construction side, and then went into the general contracting space in 2014, spent years there, and then sucked into the technology space after working in technology internally at the company, helping build processes and implement software. We started to build our own, and then from there left to build and manage what is SubBase now. So I always was in construction from interning as a kid to professional career out of school.
Yeah. That's awesome. What about the technology kind of drew you over to that side?
So when I first got into the business, I was actually doing a lot of the manual RFI stapling, cutting out, printing, putting on the back of of an actual plan or blueprint, and making sure that we had up-to-date records of RFIs on actual drawings and making sure the drawings were up to revision. That was literally my job for a whole summer. And in a short amount of time, who is the CEO now, introduced me to technology in 2014, a company called Procore that was just getting into the market.
Yeah.
And he wanted me to help just implement it because there was a lot of pushback from others. And we were doing it. I mean, it was as manual could be, printing out RFIs, stapling in the back of a set of drawings, printing out 5 different types of submittals, moving that information literally via car to architects. And he was really into technology and wanted to test new. And so we signed on with Procore at the time when they didn't have much other than a blue interface and a couple modules. And that's what introduced me to technology was, wow, I can't believe that now I can manage more from a workflow perspective. But there were still challenges of adoption that we had to go through. But that was really the first time I saw an inflection point of just very manual processes being adopted to technology that I was seeing in real life right in front of us. And so that was the first interaction I had with technology that got us a little bit further into thinking about what we could do more.
Yeah, that's awesome. So obviously a lot has changed on the technology front during that time in construction. But what do you think are some of the big challenges that are facing the trades still when integrating technology into their workflows?
I think that the biggest challenge, and this is what we're seeing too, is not having the buy-in upfront from the top. So the biggest challenge that we face is not understanding the workflow. It's not understanding the problems that we can solve for. It's getting the top tier of the company adoption at a level where they're bought in first. Once you see that type of buy-in from the top, everything downstream as far as implementation is very powerful. That's the biggest piece, I think, is that not just the education, but grabbing a hold of the top and really understanding where that business wants to head and what they need to be successful, and educating them on not just tools, but processes that need to align to make technology successful. That's really the biggest challenge we see. Once we get over the hurdle of adoption from the top tier, the decision makers at the business that want to introduce new technology, the buy-in's there, you can develop a plan. It really flows down from there. But that's really the biggest challenge we see today is that type of mentality.
Yeah. Any specific examples or stories that you like to share on how technology has improved the efficiency in the trades operations to help get that buy-in of top leadership?
We work with a lot of subcontractors. That's our bread and butter, is subcontractors or GC that's looking to self-perform. But our core that we focus on is subcontractors. And traditionally, subcontractors have not adopted technology because A, there was not enough that was being built for them. A lot of people building for subcontractors don't understand the nuances of their workflows because their business is primarily 80% labor and material. The remaining 20%, right, either equipment rental or overhead profit, like the core of their business is labor and material. And so some of the early adopters that we've had on who have grown tremendously in SubBase, sometimes realized that there was a pain, but there was skepticism on how they're going to be able to get their vendors to interact as well with the platform, right? Because what we do is two-sided. We, bring on subcontractors who integrate with their vendors as far as the workflow is concerned. And so some of the bigger challenges that we've been able to overcome was that first initial adoption of a new piece of software to be introduced to vendors at the same time without them having to do much of a change in their workflow. And so some of the companies that, we go after are very large, and large meaning not just in personnel, but just the amount of volume that they're pushing out is a lot of material purchasing that's going on. And so the other challenge they had was, great, now that I've got my vendor adopt, my field team adopted, how do I really bring the whole list, every stakeholder in, not just my field ops, which we were very focused on first. Then we went to the accounting side, and that was the bigger challenge. How do you get people in accounting who are very used to their ways, used to their structures, they're not moving out of their accounting systems, to really bridge the gap and give them a better tool? And that was a challenge we overcome in multiple ways. One was making sure that we understood how to integrate into systems that are very archaic, that cannot change, right? And that are not willing to change. And two, how do you begin to structure the data? Because the way that the data in materials is very complex. You can order the same box of nails. It's the same exact item, but it could be called 4 different things from 4 different vendors. So how do you recognize that in one? And those are the challenges that we've overcome that allow that type of adoption to take place once you've got the buy-in from the top. And so those 2 biggest challenges, which is connecting those vendors to make sure there's a great experience and making sure the data is starting to structure in the proper way, are the challenges that we've seen be upfront that we are overcoming now within the platform.
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting. So how do you help build out the roadmap and set kind of the clear expectations on that technology adoption that comes in to enhance the workflow rather than maybe disrupt the established workflow?
So it's a very fine line, because any technology that you introduce into, especially at the subcontractor level, will have some sort of disruption. The way that we've always thought about it, and from what we've seen, is like the gentle way of disrupting is the way to go about it. And what we mean by that is, where we started was, we understand the workflow very well. We know what needs to go from point A to point B. We know the players involved, but we also know that you can't layer on, all this different type of tools and robust analytics or robust artificial intelligence capabilities without getting, the basics done, which is what we've done. How we implement more is, once you've got the groove of materials flowing through the platform, right? Vendors corresponding, data in there that actually makes sense, that can be cost coded properly, then you can start to layer on more of what is coming, which is the artificial intelligence aspects of structuring the right data, being a little bit more forward thinking as far as being able to take data that's coming off of a PDF, right, of an invoice, pairing it to a PO, but the data may not actually be the same, like I said before. So the invoice data that's on there is going to be probably different than what the superintendent or the project manager or purchasing manager in the field ordered. So we started to bridge that gap by first earning trust, right? The reason why our customers trust us is because we come from the industry, we understand their problems, and we listen to them. We know that no software is perfect, but what we do know is that if you listen and really understand their problems and understand where they want to go as a partner with you, you can be aligned in the roadmap. And so that's how our roadmap has been structured, is by getting all of our user feedback and really understanding what are the problems we're looking to solve today, but also looking at in the future of how do we integrate the new technology that's already here, right? And being able to make their experience 10x, because that's what we're going for. We're not going for a 2x, we're going for the 10x experience. And that's what gets them to change from a manual process.
Yeah. No, I like that. Really taking the incremental approach to adoption too, not trying to, the old saying of eat the elephant all in one bite, but eat it one bite at a time.
But it also depends. Look, it also depends on companies, right? There's some companies that we're with now that want to eat the elephant in one shot, and we'll work with you. Great, we'll do it. There's other companies that want to start slow. They want to get, a slower pace to getting the technology in the hands of people, testing it out, getting those vendors first onboarded and confirmed of orders. So it's really a delicate balance, which is why we invest a lot of dollars and resources into implementation and customer success. It's a big part of our value prop.
Yeah. Love that. What advice would you give to companies who maybe see the value of it, but are hesitant to really embrace technology and kind of changing up, even in an incremental way, some of their workflows?
I would challenge them to look, like, especially from the material side, what we do, what we know very well. I would challenge them to look at the data and take the time to understand how long some of these processes and what the cost is of them to not adopt technology is going to cost them in the future. I think a lot of owners that we talk to that are hesitant to jump, it's not the hesitation that there's a problem that they want to solve for. It's the hesitation of, what if I don't get buy-in, or what if my team doesn't accept this? And we see those companies, right, that are on the fence. The reason they're on the fence is because they think it's too much time, right? Because anything that's going to disrupt what they're doing today does take some time, right? Especially when you get into a material purchasing process. It is a process to get you from where you are today, which is very manual, no data, to a full-blown ecosystem of centralized data, workflows, right? That's what we do. But what we challenge is really go back and look at your business and understand the numbers from, like, how much time you're spending and where are you going as a business? Because most companies want to grow. And what you can't do is you can't grow a business, right, with just getting more work and adding more headcount, right? You need to be able to grow with the resources of technology. And what's the trade-off besides spending some time to get it up, actually under wrapped and implemented properly, is what we look at.
Right. Yeah, you got to create the efficiency too. You can't just add more people and throw people at the problem.
You have to create the efficiency. And a lot of owners who look at SubBase that have told us, hey, this is great, but it's too much time. We go back and we look at it from an ROI perspective and say, well, look at how much time you're spending today. And look at the dollars you're spending on just people, which is your biggest resource in your company is your people.
Yeah, absolutely. So a part of that is really talking through and navigating the change management aspect of it, which, as people, I heard the saying that it's not that we don't like change, we just want other people to change and not us.
Sure.
Which I think there's a lot of truth to that. So what role does leadership play then in helping to successfully navigate this change management to bring in tech adoption?
Yeah, it's everything. So the change management adoption from the leadership perspective is everything from putting the right people that are in the organization involved, right? Having the right champion up front. Most of the decision makers who are buying software in construction are not the ultimate users, nor are they even the champions that are going to get it off the ground. So the first thing we do is make sure that leader, who is typically the one that says, yes, let's go for this, actually assigns the right champion. Once you've got the champion in place, there's a lot of talk around implementing the right processes, and most companies we talk to today don't have any process, and that's the problem. There is no standardized operating procedure. There's no real process in place because it's been all over the place for forever, and it's worked, right? Like, people have been ordering materials before SubBase even existed. They're still going to order without it. It works. But the efficiency gains, the things that they're missing, the things that they can do more of is what we align to up front. and the leadership at the top has to be bought in, or else you can have a phenomenal piece of software. You can make it so user-friendly. You can do everything you want. But as soon as you run into a roadblock and you're left there to figure it out and you don't have that buy-in, it becomes a problem. And in construction, there is no perfect software. There's not a perfect software out there that solves everyone's needs and everyone's problems, which is why the relationship piece of getting in and understanding the company and how they operate is actually more important than having everyone bought in, because you're never going to get everyone bought in.
Sure.
Up front, at least. Once you get it in and you show the ROI, that's a different story.
Yeah. Oh, of course. I want to pick up on a thread that you brought up there, because it's interesting. On the process has worked. It's still working. Could it be better? Of course. But when you have a kind of traditional practice, let's call it, that is working, and how do you strike that balance between that and adopting the more innovative solution that is going to help create those efficiencies in order to scale? Where's the balance? Where should the balance be drawn?
Well, up front, like, we take a lot of time understanding the customer's needs as far as what's their workflow today and where are the gaps that we know we can do very well at. Because some companies have different workflows in material purchasing, structured differently. Some are centralized, some are decentralized. Some want to be centralized because they've realized, wow, we've lost a lot of money in the past. We have no control over anything. We're blindly sending out purchase orders, right? So those companies, right, like, they know that, hey, man, we're purchasing and we're making money. But what we like to align on is, okay, where are you as a company going, right? Are you going to grow from 20 to 50 million next year or over the next 2 years? Are you going to go from 20 million to 100 million? What's the backlog look like? Because that's where we can get in early, establish the right process, right? And show you that we're not going to change the way that you send to your vendors, right? As far as requests for quotes going out. We're not telling you to go add or, find new vendors. You're going to use your same vendors that you've built a relationship with, because we understand that. But we're going to take out the manual processes of trying to track this in Excel or track this on an email or track this in a text message. Or for the most part, like, keeping the data centralized so that you can go back and use it historically in pre-construction. All of this needs education, because a lot of people that are focusing on building their business, that's all they're focused on. They're not focusing on the nuances of some of these very, very, very manual processes that have taken historically hours a week for them to do. Invoice reconciling, for an example, if you're at a company that's doing 25 to 50 million a year, right, of top line, you're going to be reconciling roughly 10 to 15, $20 million of invoices a year. You're going to have paper that, if you are not up to date on it, that's going to stack to here. You're going to have to cost code millions of items into a budget. You're probably going to be late on understanding, hey, like, are we making money here or not? Like, those are the types of items that we pull ahead, that we show to the controllers, the CFOs, the owners, to explain to them, like, this is what we're doing. We're not going to change the way you're doing it. You're still going to get that material invoice, but we're going to streamline the process, and here's how we're going to do it. So being very, very upfront about that, and not telling them they're wrong, just showing them that there's a brighter side and a bigger picture here, is where we do very well.
Yeah. Nice. So, maybe easy question for you here. How does better cost management impact the overall project success for the trades?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things of cost management is, right, like, making sure that, for an example, a lot of the trades who are ordering, a lot of their orders are committed orders, right, where I'm committing to a vendor, but once that job starts, I'm a project manager, I'm a purchasing manager, I'm requesting items. It's almost impossible to track in real time where I am from a budget perspective, unless I've established a tool up front that's going to help me draw down, and it's going to help me see in real time where could I overrun, so I can proactively either look at this to say, hey, did we get screwed on change orders? Do we need to has there been more scope added, or did I just bust my budget from the get-go? So a lot of our tools in SubBase that, when implemented properly, will allow those customers to be more proactive, and the proactivity is what causes the budget control, right? The budget control is tied to making sure that you can see in real time, like, what is happening across all your projects, and for the most part, controlling the fact that, you're going to see a lot of invoices, you can see a lot of materials moving in and out. Are you pulling from inventory, right? Or are you ordering new? Like, all of this control under one umbrella is what we've, essentially strive for in a centralized system, versus PM number one, on Excels or emails over here in one job, PM number 2 over here on another job. There is no communication, collaboration. There's no systematic approach to looking at this in real time. And so that makes it very hard to control ultimately the bottom lines of these jobs or these projects, which for the most part, most subs don't know about their profitability until months after the job's done. And that's because they have to reconcile all the purchases that were done pre-made.
Right. It's really zoning in on that visibility of the ROI is huge. Are there certain tools and strategies that you recommend for improving that visibility? Where's kind of SubBase come in to helping to streamline that process?
So visibility from like an automation perspective is pretty easy to show an ROI when you can have a very, very advanced, essentially Excel spreadsheet, right? That doesn't have all the manual entries to it, that can show you where things are at any specific time. That's a very easy way to show that. Some of the more complex items, right, are how do you show pre-construction, right? What you last spent on certain items in certain areas that are cost coded now easily because you've essentially automated a lot of the cost coding process and you take a lot of the human element out of trying to manually cost code every line item. Those are things that we're striving toward and what we do today of showing people at a different level, right? From a more proactive pre-construction standpoint, seeing where their spend is, right? Like seeing where spend is on across multiple jobs and where is that trending? What's your average cost on, safety materials that next year you're going to be spending millions of dollars on? Can you go proactively make a deal with a vendor up front because you're going to buy this, what the price is? And so those are some of the things that we've seen as just ROI that we didn't really think about before, but our users are coming and saying, hey, I didn't know that, we could do it here and we can bulk buy to a preferred vendor that actually gives us, not just better price, but like a better service because they're more suited to supply that item than someone else who we're buying lumber from. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like some of the things that we hit on. There's a lot more we're doing, but that would be like an example of some of that stuff.
Yeah. Love that. So shifting gears a bit, we can't have a technology conversation in today's day and age without bringing up AI. How do you see AI transforming the way trades and the procurement operate in construction?
I'm going to first say the trades and then I'll go into procurement. So artificial intelligence will transform the trades and it's going to transform in really the first transformation, which we're already seeing is the workflow piece, right? What I mean by that is I said up front, 80% of a subcontractor's business, the only way they're making money is if they are properly managing their labor and material. That's it. You're not going to be a successful subcontractor unless you can do that. How do you do that, right? And this is not just materials now, this is labor tracking, material. You cannot keep up at a certain size company without having help at some point and using artificial intelligence just to take the manual aspects out of certain tasks, right? For labor tracking, right? There's a lot of phenomenal solutions out there that are able to read your face, automate the way that timesheets are filled out, go into a paper, like that's happening, right? Materials, and we can talk about what we're doing on procurement, being able to get RFQs in from different sources, very, very, very easily extract the data off that PDF and give you a leveling in real time, being able to actually update price sheets in real time and being able to see trends of where different items are going, using artificial intelligence for data mapping. What do I mean by that? In construction material procurement, if I'm a superintendent and I'm going to order, I'm just going to call it, a box of concrete super, and I'm going to order a box of snap ties, right? I'm literally going to call it like a, hex head, whatever, snap tie, whatever the actual description that I care about. Length, very simple. If I'm ordering that from a vendor, and there's vendors that sell this, each vendor is going to give me a different SKU number, different part number, a different identifier, but they all mean the same thing. And that change between what a super wants in the field and what a vendor is calling it in their system, that's not changing right now. But what artificial intelligence is doing and what we're doing is we are taking that and understanding what those mean, right? Building models on top of this to make sure that we understand the nature of how it should be in the field versus what a vendor says and bridging that gap. So that type of data structuring is exactly where, the biggest opportunity is from a procurement standpoint right now. On top of that, what we've already instituted in the platform and in mature procurement is invoice reconciling those line items. So once you structure the data, you can then read an invoice, pair it to a PO, line item match, and be able to move a workflow more efficiently. And even further, we're going now into the conversational piece, right? We think that a superintendent in the field who is ordering materials or requesting items or having to speak should be able to click a button and speak into that and not have to touch a phone or touch anything as far as clicking buttons. The reason why is because they don't have time. And we've seen it. There is no time in the field if you're a real super on a real commercial job. And not that's, when I say real, I'm talking about a super at a company that like really, really has a lot going on from a construction operations, like managing multiple different areas of the job, and you're involved in a purchasing process at all materials, you're not going to have time to type. You're not going to have time to do anything other than pick up that phone, either make a call or get it somewhere. And that's what we're working on as far as where it's going to move is very, very much in that direction. We also see a lot of predictive analytics and forecasting, which is, again, more on the data and how it's structured, but that's the core of how we believe materials are going to move differently with AI.
Yeah, love that. I think one of this huge power of AI is that it allows you to kind of talk and ask the question, or put the information in the language that you speak, so to say. The person on the other side is able to hear it in their language too. So when you're talking about the two different systems talking to each other,
and part of the language,
the super can
right,
put it in there, and
100%. And that's part of what we're building is we can understand a lot of different languages, and we don't want to break that barrier because it all comes down to what we talked about before, is like the change. If you can keep it simple and you don't change the way that it's always been done, but you provide an experience that is just unbelievably better than what it is today, that's how you get that adoption. And that's the key to the field, right? The key to the field is making it so simple that it's going to take away work, it's going to give me the visibility, and it's going to know exactly what I'm doing. And that's where this type of technology is heading. And it's already here. Like it's not like this is like years out. Like this is actually stuff that we're working on actually today, and it's exciting to see.
Yeah. So are there certain kind of misconceptions about AI that you think the industry needs to overcome?
Yes. I think that the misconception of AI is taking the jobs of, everyone in construction, and that they're just going to be I think that is very, very much overblown. We see the need for certain aspects of, AI where it will replace certain aspects of workflows, right? Like there is a lot of data entry and a lot of just manual entry in construction. Where people can be better is taking out that entry and letting them be more proactive, letting them be more on the operational or even like in the strategic focus, and not constantly just typing in and moving data. That's the biggest thing that's going to change. But AI is not just going to come into construction and all of a sudden just replace tons and tons of jobs. What AI is going to do is going to allow companies to overcome a lot of the labor challenges of finding the right candidates, purposefully allowing people to accelerate in their careers because they don't have to do all of the manual tasks. That's really what's going to happen. And we're seeing that already. We're seeing companies that have come into our platform who have used it to accelerate, get more work, and repurpose people to actually do higher level activities in construction because there's a lot to do. There's a lot going on in a construction company, on a construction job. It is very complex. So that's where I see, that's like the biggest misconception is I don't think it's going to take jobs like people think. I think it's going to augment people from having responsibilities that I think are just mundane to more higher level tasks.
Yeah, more than agree. To me, it's not the threat that's some fear, to your point on the mundane. It takes away the mundane, monotonous task that nobody likes to do and allows you to really focus in on the stuff that humans are really good at, and look, the strategy and figure 100%. Out and creative problem solve.
And if you think about it, and the reason why I like construction so much is because everything's custom. This is not like a manufactured warehouse where we're pumping out cars. Like every job is custom. Even if you're building a twin 50-story tower in Miami, and everything is custom. So every project is new. And so like be able to train these models is very difficult, and it's going to take a lot of time. And the data in construction is so vast that it's not just like going to be an overnight success, but the customization of what we do in construction is unique. And that's why like people will always have to be a part of that. Now, do I see robotics coming in and making things safer? 100%. But from a workflow perspective, I think AI will change how data is moving and entered and forecasted, but I don't see it replacing jobs at the higher level, obviously, of more value-added positions.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. So as we start to wrap up, kind of a couple rapid fire questions for you. What is the phrase modeling the future? What does that kind of mean and look like to you?
So modeling the future to me means, at least for me and on what we do, is taking what we've learned, right, as far as how we can improve the material procurement process and making sure that our roadmap is aligned to where the industry is going. Modeling for me, right, we model, right, with data, we're structuring it, but we're also learning how to do it better. So modeling for the future to me is understanding what our customers are doing now through our model, right, because we have that, and then take that information and making the experience better holistically.
Yeah, I like it. What does innovation mean to you?
Experimenting.
Mm.
Experiment. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with having a hunch about something and taking a shot to experiment. We do it a lot. So to me, it's experimenting and not having a fear to fail.
Yeah,
A lot
for
of
sure.
people, in construction don't want to adopt because they're afraid to fail. We took the opposite, and we're here to experiment and make sure that the experiment we do is do for the right reason, not just doing crazy things. But that's what innovation to me means.
Yeah, absolutely. It's okay to fail fast, that whole adage,
That's
and move on,
no,
learn.
we 100%. If you're not moving
Yeah,
on and learning, then that's a problem.
right. Yeah, exactly. Well, how do people find out more information on SubBase and connect with you?
We're very active on LinkedIn, Eric Helitzer, LinkedIn, subbase.io, SUBBASE, our website, LinkedIn. That's pretty much where we are living a lot of our days, and a lot of our customers have found us through those types of channels. So that's really the easiest way to find us, and anyone can reach out to me direct, either through LinkedIn or my email, which is just eric@subbase.io.
Awesome. Well, final question for you, Eric. If I could give you all construction power, you could snap your fingers and innovate one thing in the industry, what would you pick to innovate?
That's a great question. I would probably pick to innovate. Something that I always dreamed about was in the pre-construction side of things. When I'm an owner, real estate developer, and I want to build in Miami, I always dreamed about just plugging in very high level metrics and it's spitting out for me what the cost today would be of that building.
Mm,
And the reason why I'm saying that real quick is because when I was on the GC side, it was very, very, very time consuming to take conceptual estimates. And those estimates sometimes change months later. If I'm an owner, I want to know, what is this going to cost me? Here's the parameters. Tell me right now what it's going to cost and be within a certain percent.
right.
Because that'll help the
Yeah.
whole downstream GC sub construction network. But that's something I always dreamed about.
Yeah. That's a good one. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, Eric, thanks so much. There's so many rabbit trails that we could have gone down. I feel like we're just kind of scratching the surface here, but thanks so much for
Yeah,
taking
man.
the time and joining the show.
Thanks, Todd. I appreciate it.